If you want to have the perfect start possible in Dragon Quest 1 and 2 Remake, you are in the right place. As your fellow hero who is about to finish my first playthroughs for both titles and wasted a lot of hours making mistakes, I will be giving 21 tips that will save you a lot of time and guesswork and help you avoid the common traps in the game. Like for example, keeping an eye out for scrolls. Scrolls can teach the hero new spells and abilities, and most of these spells and abilities are the good ones. For instance, the whistle ability can instantly call out enemies so you don't have to rely on random encounters. Or the Sandstorm Scroll that can give you the ability to cast Sandstorm, which lessens all enemies' accuracy by half and more. And usually, these scrolls can be acquired from treasure chests in dungeons, major towns, and side areas, so keep on the lookout. I know you had a question about when is the best time to use these scrolls, but to give you the peace of mind, there is no reason for you to save these scrolls, especially in Dragon Quest 1. So use them as soon as you get one. While in Dragon Quest 2, there are specific scrolls that can only be used on certain characters, so you will not make any mistakes on this one. This sounds basic, but a lot of new JRPG players will have their fresh start in classical remakes such as Dragon Quest. Most of these classical remakes can give you multiple options to speed up the combat since it can feel slow at times, especially for modern audience. In Dragon Quest 1 and 2, you can toggle the combat speed by going into the game settings, selecting system settings, and then battle settings so you can change the speed to fast or ultra fast. Or you can change the speed real time in combat by pressing the L1 and R1 buttons on a PlayStation controller. Setting the speed on ultra fast can save you tons of time, especially when grinding for XP. Taking advantage of shortcuts can save you a tremendous amount of time, especially since there are abilities in this game that you will be using a lot. Like for example, the healing spell should be in your shortcut so you can easily top off your health, or the whistle ability that calls enemies for an instant, or the zoom ability that lets you fast travel, or even consumables. All of these spells and abilities are commonly used, especially when farming or grinding for levels, so taking advantage of shortcuts will save you tons of time versus opening your menu and using the abilities from there. And if you are getting value so far, subscribe to the channel. Liking the video and engaging in the comments helps me more than you can imagine. The next tip is using the difficulty settings to your advantage. I'm not going to advise you to lower the difficulty every time fights are going to get hard, since I believe you should play on the normal difficulty at least to preserve the experience, but playing on easy mode has its purposes. The Draki difficulty is the easiest so far, but you may want to set the difficulty on Draki if you are farming for levels, since the easiest difficulty provides more XP and gold compared to the other difficulties. And of course, I admire my fellow Draconian players, meaning players who play under the Draconian difficulty, since it would be the hardest experience so far and it gets you less experience and gold. You can find and change the difficulty under the difficulty settings anytime you wish to. Speaking of fast leveling and gold farming, I've recently covered the absolute best spots to level up early and farm tons of gold easily. This guide can easily make you overpowered, and you can find the leveling guide in the description or by clicking the card here. If you don't want to hold the circle button on a PlayStation controller when sprinting, you can change the sprint movement to toggle option. Do so by accessing the text and running settings and changing the settings from there. A minor spoiler warning here, but I believe that this is the best step that you can get from this guide, and it is saving and keeping the princess as a permanent companion in your journey. Waifu lovers will surely appreciate this tip, but players who want to experience secret cutscenes, secret endings, and more interaction will find this tip useful as well. The princess will add so many interactions and bonus events, so it is a must that you keep her. Plus, you will have a waifu companion, so your forever loneliness will be cured if you do this. If you just follow the storyline, there is a high chance that you will lose her. So to avoid spoilers, I will just mention the key things that you need to do. You will come to a point where you will be tasked to save Princess Guilin, and this quest will formally start in the town of Remoldar. You will never miss this location since it is part of the main story. After the events in Remoldar, you will get a magic key to open a secret door later on. Head back to the castle Tantagel and head to the northern exit of the castle's first floor to access the back alleyway. Follow the straightforward alleyway all the way to the southern exit, which will then lead you to a secret basement room with a huge door where you can use the magic key. Talk to the NPC in here to get the Sunstone key item, and this is the key material that we need to have before rescuing the princess. princess, so we don't need to go back in Tantagel Castle later on. The next step is continuing the quest of saving the princess by beating the dragon in Quagmire Cave. She will forever join you in your journey instead of delivering the princess to Tantagel Castle and wasting her potential companionship. Keep in mind that you can still visit Tantagel's town, but don't go inside the castle or else she will leave your company. Moving on to my exploration tips. The next tip highly depends on your preference since you can optimize your markers by just changing a few settings. You can find the key settings by going into the game settings and then helpful settings. In here, if you turn on the objective marker, the map will show you where to go to advance the main story, while turning on treasure chest location will reveal the location of treasure chests on your map. While the same thing applies to secret spots, where the map shows you bubble-like spears indicating there's a secret location in certain sections of the map. Obviously, turning on these settings will depend highly on your preferences since I can understand that there are a lot of players who want to keep secrets hidden as much as possible. But for casual players who don't want to miss out on anything, I suggest turning these options on. But for players who want to preserve the secrecy of all of the chests in the game and don't want to miss anything, the Notes for Treasure ability that you will get later on will give you the total treasure chest count in an area without spoiling its location, so take advantage of this ability. Looting everything should be your habit, even though it feels wrong most of the time. Make it a habit to search every nook and cranny of towns, special location, and dungeons. Interact with NPC closets, drawers, and all, especially barrels. There are a lot of barrels in this game, so take the liberty to get every item that they offer. You'll be surprised how many useful items you can get, like gold, item consumables, especially seed items that can increase your stats permanently, and more on this later. If you are blindly progressing in the game without any sort of markers and so on, taking advantage of the recall ability is highly suggested. Recall will allow you to store NPC conversations. Pretty useful if you are tracking certain quests or clues to progress in your journey. However, keep in mind that you need to store or save your new interactions by pressing the options button on a PS5 controller or pressing V on a keyboard, which will let you save interactions. Then your recall ability menu stores everything, and you can access it anytime you wish to. Fast traveling is everything in this game if you want to save tons of time, especially since both Dragon Quest 1 and 2 love to direct their players back to certain locations a lot. So it is a must that you have a lot of Chimera Wings with you, as this item will allow you to fast travel in previously visited areas. You can buy your first Chimera Wings in Tantagel's item shop for just 25 gold for each, so make sure to buy a handful of them for later use. Or you can use the zoom ability as mentioned, an ability that will also allow you to fast travel for free. Unlock this ability by just reaching level 13 in Dragon Quest 1, while leveling the Prince of Connacht to level 10 will unlock the same ability in Dragon Quest 2. While exploring the world, make sure to keep on the lookout for mini medals in Dragon Quest 1. These medals pile over time, and later on in the game, you will find a certain NPC that trades these medals for useful items. You will also notice that I am giving more tips for Dragon Quest 1 since a lot of players will surely start from here, but rest assured that all of the tips here applies to both games since they have minimal differences. Moving on to my character progression tips, and just in case you didn't realize, you can equip identical accessories for more stats. This is extremely useful in early game since every stat point matters, especially when it comes to defense. The higher the stats, of course, the more hits you can receive in combat. Gold is a little bit scarce at first, and let me tell you that you don't need to buy every equipment that you see unless you are a collector or a completionist. What I usually do is just buy the equipment that adds the most stats, like pieces that add more than 6 to 7 points, so you can get your money's worth, versus the equipment pieces that adds only 2 to 3 points for their respective stats. But if you follow my leveling guide, you can disregard this tip since not only you will be overpowered by gaining tons of levels, but my leveling guide will also make you drown in gold so you can buy everything you want in the game. Again, the guide is linked in the description. Avoid wearing cursed equipment pieces just for the sake of stats. I know it's pretty basic, but sometimes players tend to not read the description and focus on the raw stats they provide. Like for example, this zombie male that gives me a lot of defense, but if you read the description closely, this armor can drain my HP in every step that I take. There is a lot of equipment like this in the game, so make sure to read the item description carefully. I bet you wonder when is the right time for you to use seeds. Seeds can give permanent stat growth upon using them. Like for example, the Seed of Luck can increase your luck stat and so on. The true answer when you should use them depends. If you are a casual player, then you can use them whenever you want to. Your starting stats in this game are so low that any additional stats would make a difference. So using seeds as early as you get them will be beneficial. If you want to optimize at endgame or if you want to optimize a stat later on in the game, then it is suggested to save your seeds later on. Personally, I would save them because you know me, I want to be fully in control of my progress. And there is a stat cap in Dragon Quest games because each seeds provides random stats. For example, between 1 and 3, and I want to make sure that I get the most out of them in endgame. Moving on to my combat tips, and there are a lot of weapons in this game and most of them have special properties. Like for example, the Divine Dagger that is good for undead monsters, so obviously you would want to use this dagger when dealing with undead monsters or bosses. Your first dungeon in this game is filled with undead monsters, so using it when clearing the said dungeon is beneficial, especially when grinding for XP. There are two ways of getting the Divine Dagger, and the earliest one can be bought in Tantagel shop or get it for free in Erdrick's Hollow B1 or your first dungeon in this game, and I'm showing the chest location on the screen right now. Another example of a good weapon is the boomerang, and it is very OP in the early game. This is your first normal AoE weapon that you can get in Craggy Cave B1, which is part of the main scenario. Again, I am showing the location on the screen right now. This weapon is very useful for XP and gold farming since you can take down multiple enemies in a single attack. Once you get this weapon, it's kinda hard to replace it when it comes to regular fights, and you will find yourself changing your weapons when fighting single bosses in early to mid game. In connection with this step, you can change your equipment mid-fight with no penalty whatsoever. Take this to your advantage if you want to exploit enemy weaknesses on the fly, especially if your arsenal has already expanded. For players who love to grind XP and gold, getting the whistle ability is a priority. This ability kills enemies in an instant, so you can enter fights without relying on random encounters. So yes, grinding will be so much easier and faster. Getting this ability takes time though, so I suggest watching my leveling guide to save time, and as always, link in the description. Enemy names indicate their current health bar. The redder the enemy names, the closer they are to their deaths. This is pretty useful at least in Dragon Quest 1 since you will know which enemy to focus on and take down after hitting them with an AoE attack or spell. Just like in any JRPG or turn-based games, buff and debuff spells or abilities are everything in this game. So make sure to take advantage of them, especially in Dragon Quest 1, where you will always be fighting solo technically, even if you have the princess unlocked as a companion. Abilities such as Defending Champion that increases your damage mitigation by 50% is very useful when a strong incoming attack is about to hit you. Or the ability Cap Out can reflect physical attacks, very useful when facing multiple physical attacking enemies, especially in the early game, where you don't have good weapons and spell yet. And the Cap Out is one of your initial spells, so make sure to take advantage of it. Knowing the best tips is just a start, but what if you want to follow a definitive early progression guide that will give you everything to be overpowered? This video will teach you everything, so click on it and I will catch you on the next one.